Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. The theme of this episode is worst roommates of 2025. I know you guys liked the last roommate episode I did, so I thought why not bring that theme back. And I have my protein coffee here. It's snickerdoodle flavored and it's actually really good. It has 10 grams of protein and 65 calories, I think. And then I put some of my milk in it and a little bit of stevia. And it's good. I feel like if I add an espresso shot, it would be even better, honestly, because it would give it more of a coffee taste. Like it's instant coffee, so it's not crazy coffee taste. But, anyways, let's get right into the episode. Let me know what you guys are drinking this episode or whatever you're doing this episode, or if you're eating. Let me know. Okay, so the first story is titled, Am I the Asshole for Being Loud When My Roommate Has Sex? I currently live in a student house with 3 other people. The downstairs room is connected to the kitchen/dining area. The roommate who sleeps in this room asked for this specifically. Recently, he's been bringing his girlfriend around our house every single day. They've been dating a few years, but we've only just met her. They're constantly in the kitchen and his bedroom with the door open, which makes it a bit awkward to be in there at sometimes. They have sex so loud. Going downstairs has become a nightmare because we constantly have to listen to the two going at it. They usually do it in the middle of the day, the exact times people are going into the kitchen to make lunch and dinner. I brought this up to him a few times, and he said that we never gave him any rules when he asked if we could bring her around. But obviously, we didn't expect to be hearing them doing it constantly. I asked him to play music and or put the television on in the background while he was doing it, and he refused and told us that he likes hearing his girlfriend while they're doing it, so he won't be doing that. To combat this, every time we go into the kitchen and we can hear them sleeping together, we've started playing music ourselves or putting on a TV show to drown them out, which he said he's not very happy with and it ruins the mood for him. I don't care about them being intimate together. I just don't want to hear the bed banging, the moaning, and the conversation that happens. It's annoying and makes me uncomfortable in my own house. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. And that's actually so annoying. But that reminds me of my roommate when so it wasn't this crazy because like she didn't have, well, actually, so her bed, okay, we had a 3 level condo. So it was like the bottom level where the garage was, and the door to the garage was right next to the door of her bedroom and the front door. So there was like a tiny foyer, and then it was like the door to her room, the door to the front door, the door to the garage. So like obviously we were going in and out a lot and having to pass by her door. And then in the middle floor, it's the living room, bathroom, kitchen, and then the upstairs floor was 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And so one of our roommates, I think she lived with us for 2 years out of the 4 that I lived there, we had a huge problems with her boyfriend like always being there, to the point where one day we saw her and his car loaded up with a bunch of his stuff and they were bringing his stuff into her room. So we were like, "Oh, so you're moving in and you didn't tell us? Like you're moving your boyfriend in and you didn't tell us." So we called like a roommate meeting and we were like, "Hey, like he needs to contribute at least a little bit. Like he doesn't have to pay full rent, but he needs to be paying at least like $300 or something if he's fully moving here." And she's like, "Well, he actually does have a place. He sleeps on the couch at his friend's house." So he doesn't have a place, you're saying. We're like, he doesn't have a place, girl. And he's here every night. So he's clearly not sleeping on the couch at his friend's house. Please, like, spare me. I mean, it was just annoying because we had like problems with her and him for a little bit already. So then the resentment was building. And then that's when like we were, okay, this is kind of ridiculous because he would be upstairs. We didn't really know them. We were like, I was friends with one of my roommates already, and we moved in together, and then we found 2 random roommates. So we didn't really know them, and her boyfriend would come up in the kitchen by himself and just like be making breakfast with his shirt off. And we were like, okay, this is so weird. I don't really feel like if it was like one of my friends' boyfriends, I would be fine with it, like whatever. But this was our roommate that we didn't know and we weren't friends with or close with at all. We barely knew her or her boyfriend. And he would just come up like so comfortably, casually making breakfast with no shirt on. And we're just like, oh yeah, I would love to like use the kitchen right now, but I just feel really uncomfortable. And it's not like he was a super outgoing guy that was really easy to make friends with either. So I don't know. It was just really uncomfortable. But we would always hear them. I would, at least I would. I would always be downstairs in the kitchen or I would be in the living room and constantly hearing her moaning and them just like boom, boom, like the sound of like the bodies hitting each other. And that's all I could hear. And it would happen so often. And I was just like, I mean, it's fine, obviously. Like, it's not like they're doing it on purpose with the door open or anything. But it was just like, I don't know. I feel like if you live with a bunch of roommates, you kind of want to keep it down, right? I wouldn't want my roommates to hear me moaning in my room. I'm sorry. That's so uncomfortable for me and for them. And it's just like subjecting them to something that they don't want to be hearing. But it wasn't definitely as bad as this story is. I would be so confused. Why is he arguing with me about not wanting to hear him and his girlfriend be like moaning and having sex every day while I'm trying to make food? He's like, "Oh, it ruins the mood." Oh yeah, well, it ruins my appetite when I'm making a sandwich in the kitchen and all I can hear is your girlfriend moaning and the two bodies slamming together like mac and cheese. So, sorry. All right, let's read some comments. This person said, "How on earth does he think this is okay?" In quotes, "We didn't give him any boundaries. I'm sorry, but what sort of idiot thinks that you need to have a discussion about him having loud sex midday near a communal area? Not the asshole, but if it was me, I would start making things extra awkward, like bring a conductor's baton and start pretending to conduct them as they are doing it with music you put on. Then again, I'm pretty petty, so just watched just watched Secrets of My Success, so that might have led to something to do with this idea." Someone says, "Choose the counter music carefully." Okay, I don't really care about that, but they always be making jokes. Not the asshole. Give them reviews and feedback every time. Make it outrageous. Make them uncomfortable. Jane, it sounds like you weren't as satisfied this time. John, are you having performance issues? Wow, John, only 3 minutes this time. Must have been all that time you spent with Lisa earlier. Oops, sorry, Jane. Jane, are you okay? It sounds like your head was bouncing off the headboard. Maybe you should go get a CT to see if you're concussed. Someone said, type up a form to fill out every time, like a job review, and rank certain aspects of a scale. Needs improvement to exceeds expectations. Oh, yoy. Sounds like they're exhibitionists. If they're leaving the door open and being intentionally loud, they like that you can hear them. The real issue here is that they're forcing their kink onto you, and that's not okay at all. Realistically, I don't know what you can do about it or what the rules of your lease/student housing are, but I'm so sorry, and you're not the asshole. I mean, they're obviously not self-aware because, okay, you can have that kink, but that doesn't mean that you need to be pushing that onto your roommates. The next story is titled, "My roommate expects me to let her be a stay-at-home mom, and now we're about to be evicted." Hi everyone, I really need advice on how to get out of this lease without it being on my record. I have a roommate that has 2 kids but doesn't pay rent. If you'd like, I've posted in the past about some incidents with my roommate, but now things have gotten worse. December 31st, 2024, I asked her early morning would she have anything to send me for rent, and she said no. I'm going to see if my FAFSA will come through. The next morning, just to double check, I asked, hey, do you have anything to put towards rent? Anything? She said $100. In my head, I was like, okay, it's something, but $100 is like 10 in today's world. She said, I'm going to wait for my FAFSA. I was like, okay, cool. So instead of paying for rent, I waited because she might get lucky. When it was the 4th, I asked her about it while I was at work. Hey, did your FAFSA come through for rent? Guess what? She said no. And she said it so quick and kind of in like a shrug your shoulders tone. And that pissed me off, not gonna lie, because I don't think she was going to tell me again. So I just paid the rent before it accumulated. When I got home, we spoke, and she told me she's not going to have anything towards rent until our lease is up. It's over in June. Tuesday, we had a snow day, and I stayed home from work, paid time off, around 1,300 or 1,400 hour. Wait, what? Oh, I'm assuming they're doing military time. Around 1,300 or 1,400 our power went out, and I thought it was because of the snow, but no, the bill wasn't paid. Since I'm not primarily C, I don't get the notification informing me when it's due. I honestly forgot this bill existed because I don't ever get a notification or I don't have a date it comes out. I'm a very organized and put together person. I like my ducks in a row and a schedule for what I'm doing, and it really shocked me to see this has not been paid in a while, but they shut off our power but told us if we put $100 towards it, they'll cut it back on again. I have $100, but my bank account is low now because I've been saving her ass time and time again. This is not what I signed up for. I understand life happens, and sometimes it takes a while to get back up, although I need for you to be responsible. I feel like I'm working so hard just to come home to a negative, tense, and emotional environment. The only reason I feel taken advantage of is because I've saved our asses, and time again, I feel like a safety net. She doesn't communicate. She won't have rent at all. I find out by looking at the portal or verbally asking her. Anyone would know when they don't have money for their bills. Now I have nothing because of the simple lack of communication. The delay of telling me what's going on, if she would have been like, hey, I'm going to be late on rent. Do you mind covering it and I'll pay you back? I'd be cool with that. But now it's to the point where she expects me to pay it in full because she doesn't have it. January 29th or 30th, I told her I will not be paying another month of rent. She gets her taxes mid-February with two dependents. I told her she can cover February, March, and April. If not, I'm just waiting for the eviction and I'll look for another apartment when we receive our date. After this, I will be going no contact with my sister and I'll just have to see my niece and nephews when my mom babysits. Okay, wait, sorry. I think I missed that. I'm so confused. She never said that this was her sister until the end. Am I wrong here? She just said my roommate has two kids and but doesn't pay rent. And then she just went on to tell the story, and then at the end she's like, I'll be going no contact with my sister and just have to see my niece and nephew when my mom babysits. Girl, you should have said something about it being your sister. I mean, that makes it definitely different. I can not understand, okay, but hear me out. I can get why a sister would be like, girl, you're paying for my rent, or like just not, just expect that from their sibling. Obviously that's not right, and I would never do that personally, and hopefully my brother and sister would never do that to me either. But I feel like it's just a different dynamic if it was an actual roommate that was just her roommate doing this. What am I trying to say? I forget the word that I'm trying to use, but if it was an actual roommate that she didn't know, like, that would be a different story. It's still bad. It's still just as bad, but now I can see why she's just so nonchalant about it, because that's her sister and she's just not saying anything. Just basically, hey, you're paying for my rent, and then just never saying anything ever again. Because I don't know, that's just, I don't know. Do you get it? I get it. I feel like it just makes sense. It's obviously not right, and I don't think that she should expect that from her sister whatsoever. But I can see, like, if your sister is really annoying. Hopefully, highly doubt that if your sister was living with some random roommate, she would be doing that to her. But just because it's her sister, she thinks that she can take advantage of her sister. Right? Does that make sense? I feel like I was having a hard time with that sentence. Okay, let's read some comments. You have been complaining about your sister for 5 months. You've been given the same advice. I truly don't understand the point of repeatedly posting the same thing or variations of the same thing. You are not the father of her children. You are not her mother. You know what to do. You need to decide to do it. Or, post again in a couple weeks. Edit, my tone was harsh, but ma'am, read all of your previous posts to yourself. Read the comments again. Ask yourself how Redditors can help you when you won't help yourself. You are too young for this kind of headache. It's just hard because how do you do that? I mean, I feel like in my situation, I was living, I don't know where she lives, if she lives with a landlord or if it's like a property management group that owns all of the apartments or what, but at my last apartment, when I was living with roommates, it was owned by a landlord. So we were all on the lease, but I feel like if someone didn't have their rent, like, that's not my landlord's problem. My landlord probably would have just been like, okay, well, you guys need to cover it because you're all on the lease. And then that would be more of like a discussion between the roommates. So really it's like putting a lot of trust in those people, because the landlord's not going to call them and be like, hey, you need to pay rent, because there's 3 other people on the lease. At least in my case, there was 3 other people on the lease that can pay the rent, if that makes sense. But Someone said, is this your sister? Can you leave the apartment and go stay with your parents, save up for a few months, and as soon as you have money for a new rent deposit, leave? See, what's hard is that how are you going to do this without it being on your record or getting evicted? That's going to be an issue. I feel like for me, I don't know. I mean, I definitely think that you should talk to the landlord at least just to see if there's anything that he or she can do. And then I'm not really sure how that's going to work out, but if they can't do anything, then maybe just get up and leave and just be like, bye, I'm not going to be here anymore. You can figure it out. You can take care of the rent and just not live there because she's not paying you rent. But then that also risks you getting evicted. So it's like, I don't know what you can do about that, especially because if you're wanting to find a new apartment after you get evicted, you're not going to be able to. Like a lot of apartment, I don't know, maybe really shitty apartment buildings will take you if you get evicted, but I'm not really sure how that works. And I don't think that it's going to be as easy as she thinks it's going to be. But OP said, I've honestly just been thinking about leaving altogether. I get paid weekly and can honestly just pick up shifts to catch back up. She hasn't mentioned anything about her taxes and paying rent, and I'm just tired of the lies. Well, it seems like this has been a problem for her for a while. Someone said, can you give your formal notice directly to the landlord to be removed from the lease? And OP said, I sent an email today, but they told me I could not leave until the balance for eviction is paid for. This is our third eviction notice since living here. Wait, what? We signed in March 2024. What do you do? Wait, what does that mean? You have a eviction notice. That doesn't mean that you're getting evicted. Like, that just means you can make it better and pay for the eviction balance, and then you can just be like on good terms again. I don't know. Is that how that works? I actually have no idea. Thankfully, I've never gotten evicted. I would actually be shitting my pants if I did, because I'm I have like PTSD with I hate using that term lightly because it's obviously not lightly, but I genuinely think like at least some form of light PTSD with like breaking rules and getting in trouble with like authorities. So I try my hardest to do everything I can to avoid anything like that, like even just getting in trouble, like getting evicted, because that is technically, isn't that like, I don't know, you're getting kicked out like of a place that you're supposed to be living at. So I feel like that just gives me so much anxiety because when I was younger, well, growing up for a while, all through middle and high school, is when my brother was going through his really bad drug problems, and he was a drug dealer for a while. And our house would always get raided by the police. And a lot of the times it was just me by myself, alone. And then I was so scared because I would have to, like, I would wake up from the cops pounding on the door, and it would actually, and I think that's why I have dreams often, like at least once or twice a week. I have a dream where in my brain I'm dreaming about something and it wakes me up from the outside, and it makes me think that someone's like pounding on the door from the outside, but really it was just in my dream, but it woke me up. Does that make sense? Like, even sometimes I'll have dreams that like someone is screaming like in my face, and it wakes me up as if someone was actually screaming in my face, and then I'm like, but it's not real. I don't know. But I do feel like I have some sort of like, I don't know, trauma reaction whenever someone knocks on the door, whenever someone rings the doorbell. Like, honestly, knocks on the door is the biggest thing because that just like brings me back to that traumatic time of just so often having to answer the door to the police, and then having like my entire house just flipped upside down, and watching my brother get in trouble and go to jail, go to court, like all that stuff. So yeah, but I just try my best not to get into any type of trouble like that. I mean, obviously, I don't do anything to get into trouble like that, but if I were to be broke all of a sudden and I couldn't afford my rent and I got evicted, oh my God, I would actually have a panic. I'm sure a lot of people would have a panic attack, but I don't know. I just get so scared about stuff like that. So I feel like I would be selling. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. Okay. Someone said, call the landlord, explain the situation, and see if you can get off the lease since that leech isn't paying any rent. And then someone said, why would a landlord let the one person paying rent get off the lease? So real. Someone said they aren't going to let her off of it if she tells them that she's the only one who can afford the rent payment. Oh, shit. You know what? That's so real. That's so true. Especially because a landlord doesn't care about your situation. They care about getting their money most of the time. I haven't really met a lot of good landlords that like actually care. Most of them just care about getting their check and that's really it. And they are like the cheapest little scumbags ever. But I feel like they're just gonna be like, okay, that's not my problem. Figure it out with your sister and you better get rent paid to me. Or shalom. Wait, what? Not shalom. Or like bye. Okay. The next story is titled, Will I be the asshole if I started making my roommate pay half the bills even though it wasn't what we initially agreed upon? I have a roommate who pays me about 90% of half the rent. So if the total is 1600, they contribute around 700. I cover the rest along with water, gas, internet, and electricity because I earn more than they do. When they first moved in, I felt sorry for them because they were leaving an abusive situation. It's been a little bit over a year since they moved into my guest room and overall, it hasn't been too bad. However, when they moved in, I had some of my belongings in the closet, primarily books. The room is fully furnished with my furniture, including a large bed that takes up a lot of space, a heavy bookshelf, and around 500 books stored in 5 to 6 boxes and 2 large bags. I always intended to go through them, pick out my favorites, and donate or sell the rest, but due to my ADHD and object impermanence, I kept pushing it off. In the long run, I envisioned turning the room into a closet/library after they moved out since I prefer having my clothes visible rather than stored away. Last year, I came home to find my bookshelf outside by the dumpsters. I immediately told my roommate to put it back in the room because they had no right to throw away my belongings. If they had asked, I would have found another place for it, but I was so frustrated that I insisted they return to the room without offering an alternative solution. Fast forward to now, I recently hired someone to help clean my apartment when work gets too busy. They offered to organize my cabinets, which reminded me to finally sort through my books, only to be told that my roommate had thrown them all away months ago. Over 500 books, hardcover, paperback, large, small books I had kept since middle school, just gone. They never asked, never mentioned feeling uncomfortable with them in the closet, never gave me a chance to move them. They simply decided to discard decades of my history without my permission. I was so upset that I haven't spoke to them in over a week. It's not just about the books, it's about the complete lack of respect for my things. My first instinct is to kick them out. Yes, I understand the legal complexities of the tenancy and eviction, but instead I've decided that I no longer want to cover the bulk of the bills. I've drafted a document that evenly splits all household expenses, which will increase their contribution by at least $500. Will I be the asshole if I taped it to their door? This isn't the arrangement we originally agreed upon when they moved in, but at this point, I feel that if they can blatantly disrespect my belongings, they no longer deserve my generosity. Edited to add, I started responding to comments, but as recovering people pleaser with a tendency to over explain, I realized it was triggering what my therapist calls rejection sensitivity. I wasn't using my ADHD as an excuse, just explaining how a specific neurodivergent term relates to the discussion. Since I was diagnosed later in life, I've had to constantly explain my behavior and thought process to those around me. I struggle when I feel like people are upset with me and often overcompensate when I sense someone doesn't like me. Believe it or not, I genuinely am a kind person. Helping others is not only my passion, but also my profession, and I come from a background of religious public service. It has taken years of therapy to stop allowing myself to be taken advantage of due to the fact that I want to feed everyone, save everyone, and help everyone. That being said, I did not leave a note. I left out of town for the weekend to clear my head, and I will have a discussion with them when I get back. Yeah, definitely have a discussion with them over just leaving some like a note, especially because what is that going to do? It's not like it's a legal document and they have to do it. They could just be like, okay, bye, throwing this away too, along with all of your 500 books. First of all, that's extremely disrespectful. I mean, what if those books were like relics? Is that the word? And they were for like one, they were worth something. Two, what if they were like a family members of yours that passed away or something that you were keeping from like in memory of someone? Or just period, they're yours. And why would she think that she can just throw something of yours away, especially when you were nice enough to let her move in or let them? I don't know. She didn't say anything about if it was a boy or a girl, so I actually don't know. But you were nice enough to let them move in, and when they were going through something, and then also covering most of the bills. I mean, $700 for when you're supposed to be paying $800 in rent plus the water, gas, internet, electricity. Are you shitting me? That's a dream. Like, are you kidding? I will move in with you and I will pay that. But that's just so crazy to me that they think that's okay. I mean, that's actually so insane in the membrane to me, but definitely talk to them. The thing about this is I'm wondering is are they signed to the lease? Because in that case, I would at least threaten to kick them out, especially because what they did is like actually so messed up. And then not only that, but you don't need to be, it's not your partner. Like you don't need to be paying 90%, or you don't need to be, yeah, honestly, you don't need to be paying 90% of everything, and they just get to pay a little measly $700 and putting you through all of this stress by throwing all of your stuff away. That's just actually crazy. Okay, let's see some comments. Not the asshole overall, but there is room for debate on this. Your roommate accepted your terms initially, complete with some of your possessions still in the room. While I can see where they wanted the room your books were occupying, in no way did they have the authority to dispose of your belongings. It seems to me they have contributed adequately financially, considering they didn't even have a complete room to themselves. Personally, I wouldn't want to continue to live with someone I could not trust, and this, it appears, is what you have. You seem to indicate you are not the most organized or efficient person at home, and this may be annoying your roommate, but that still does not justify their audacity in disposing of your belongings. I suspect your roommate will not accept you're changing the terms of the financial agreement. For this reason, I'd suggest you just ask them to find another place to stay. Then, if that doesn't happen in a reasonable period of time, begin official eviction. Hopefully, you're okay with covering 100% of your home expenses. I'm I don't really agree with the fact that they have contributed adequately financially, considering they didn't even have I don't agree with that. I think that I think that if there's internet, water, and gas and electricity to be paid, they also need to be paying at least some 90% of half of that as well. I don't know. Because everything else, like, okay, or you could just ask them to move their stuff out, like, hey, please. Or guess what? You could just take the stuff out of the room and out of your space and put it by their room so that you, instead of putting it in the trash can, like, you went through all that effort to take it out of the room. You could have just left it in her room instead and been like, hey, I don't want this in my room anymore. But I also didn't want to throw it away because that's disrespectful. Okay, someone said the expiration of the term was not defined. Therefore, it's reasonable to inform the roommate the agreement has come to an end. They can negotiate a new term or leave. Technically, they should have been on the apartment lease anyway. Many apartments won't allow you to just move someone in like that without putting them on a lease. If the landlord really wants to get rid of them, he can move. Sign up for his own new apartment and let the thief figure out what to do with themselves. Someone said, by throwing out your belongings they stole from you, which should invalidate any tenant agreement. They stole your books from you and threw them away. I would press charges. Oh, that seems like a lot of work. OP responded to this comment saying, it's the full story. Nothing was said to me, nothing at all. I would have even accepted a passive-aggressive move of stacking everything up in the living room, a text, a letter, anything. I would have been hella annoyed, but I would have got it and finally dealt with it. When you have my type of ADHD, it's something is not in your face, your brain literally forgets that it exists. Also, I don't know if this helps, but everything in the room is mine. The queen-sized bed, the dresser, and the nightstand. To be honest, it's the bed that takes up the most of the room. See, even that too. You're giving her all of this stuff. You're giving her a fully furnished room. That's all of your stuff. And she's still only paying $700. Someone said, if my math is mathing, the total rent, utilities is $2,400 a month. Roommate has only been paying $700 a month, leaving OP to pay the rest of the $1,700 a month. That's a damn good steal for a furnished room with communal spaces, because that's essentially what this was, a sublet of a furnished room. You don't get to throw out the furniture in a place that you're renting that's furnished. That's theft. And if the books were a problem, the roommate should have said something. Throwing out things that don't belong to you is still theft, and roommate stole OP's belongings while OP was doing them a favor by covering most of the cost of a place to stay. That's some pretty shitty friend behavior to me. I agree with that, and I think they really forgot. I feel like at some point, sometimes when you do something good to someone or good for someone, they end up forgetting, which it's not just because you do something good, I'm not saying just because you do something good for someone, that means that you have an excuse to just not, like, respect them in a way. I'm not saying she wasn't respecting them, but she was, like, not moving her stuff out of the room when I don't know if the roommate had asked that or what, but I feel like a lot of the times people forget what got them there in the first place. Like, how about you think of why you're even living in that space in the first place? And it's because this person was a good friend to you and was letting you stay with them for a very low, low price. Okay. Okay, well, that story time is over and we are going to move on. I'm not going to do an advice segment today. I'm just going to chat a little bit, and I'm also going to address this. I don't think I should give energy to this person because I think that they are, unfortunately, I don't know what's wrong with this person, but clearly they love to attack me, and it's obviously the same person. And I'm going to just expect that this is probably going to happen, and I'm going to need to learn to ignore it rather than react to it. But the person that I had posted yesterday in the advice segment that had said, like, no advice, but you should change the way that you talk about Reddit stories. You're very judgmental and it's unfortunate, blah, blah, blah. They also put in, which seriously, like, I'm honestly gonna close the Google form if this person isn't gonna stop submitting rude things in here, because I think that it's a little bit crazy to me that they keep using this as a way to put me down and hate on me, and they should just comment from their account on my video. But of course they're going out of their way because they know that this is an anonymous form and they can say whatever they want without having a name put behind it. They submitted 2 more things. This girl, which I don't know if it's the same person, but I'm assuming it is because they are using the same type of, they're typing in the same way and using the same type of emojis in all of the submissions that they're putting. But this one submission says, Jamie, I love you, but your lip filler needs to be dissolved. It's making you look older than you are. I actually know that, but I just don't want to pay $600 to get it dissolved. You clearly don't love me because you wouldn't be submitting all these rude things in here. And then the next one, this is a doozy, says, girl, I watched your video all the way through because you actually, which means they watched this video all the way through as well, this next video. So they just hate watch all of my videos, I guess. But she said, girl, I watched your video all the way through because you actually used to be kind and different when you first started the podcast. I'm sorry you can't take constructive criticism and open your eyes to see that your energy is giving entitled white girl. But I'm not surprised because you literally admitted to being racist and conservative growing up. Some things don't change, I guess. Your anger issues that you also admitted to having need to be worked on because you got so defensive over criticism. How sad. First of all, when did I ever say that I was racist growing up? I said that I had conservative and Republican views because my parents did. Does that mean that I was racist? Nar. So that's a huge accusation to put on someone. That's actually insane. I was honestly never even conservative because I was a child when I was conservative. Also, I understand why people start to get closed off to the internet and not be as vulnerable, because people like this start to criticize things when I'm saying things that have happened in my life, or I'm telling you guys vulnerable things about my life to open up and to try to connect, because I know that a lot of people have experienced the same things as I have, because I am just a regular person. I'm giving so much energy to this, but whatever. It's just like really annoying. Saying I used to be kind and different when I first started the podcast is crazy, because I first started the podcast like 6 months ago. I'm quite literally the same exact person that I was 6 months ago. The only thing that changed is I've gotten another cat. I love when you use things against me, because I've told you that I used to react quickly, which I never really said I had anger issues. I just said that I used to have a really bad eating disorder, and so I would be reactive because I was so hungry all the time and starving myself, and I had really bad mental health issues, but now I treated them. Obviously, I'm putting myself out into the public for people to say mean and hateful things, and I know that this is a huge thing that happens online and that's unfortunate, but I'm confident in myself and I'm confident that I am actually a nice and kind person. But if you're gonna attack me or attack someone that I love, or you're not doing the right thing, yeah, I'm gonna stick up for myself and stick up for others and stick up for what's right. And I know that this isn't right. I know that this is like completely anonymous, but I'm wondering if there's a way that I can collect email addresses now. I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. And unfortunately, so this isn't gonna be like completely anonymous, but I think I'm going to collect email addresses now. At this point, I'm just kind of venting, but I just feel like this is a safe space, especially because YouTube, it's like long form content. So I feel like you don't really watch a long video of someone unless you like them and you connect with them. And I love talking to you guys in the comments, and that's what like makes this fun. But obviously when stuff like this happens, it's not fun to deal with, and it's not cute, it's not nice, and especially when someone's attacking your character. It says collect email addresses. Yeah, I'm doing this. I want to keep doing the advice segment. Like, I love giving you advice, and obviously everyone that's submitted advice so far has all been actually what it's for, like actual advice and not just trying to come at me sideways. It's so crazy to me that people genuinely look at people online as like a character. I'm not a Sims character. You can't just like do whatever you want and say whatever you want. I'm an actual person. Just because you're seeing me behind the screen doesn't mean anything, and I'm an actual person that's dealt with actual real life regular human being things that you deal with and that we all probably deal with. I hope that doesn't happen again, but just so you know, it's going to collect your email address now. Obviously, I'm not going to like give out your email address or do anything with your email address. It's just solely for things like this. Obviously, there's going to be times where people get upset about things that I'm saying or have an opposite opinion as me. That's just life. I'm not going to have the same opinion as everyone, and not everyone is going to have the same opinion as me. And that's totally fine. I posted almost 200 videos. So you can only imagine that there are obviously gonna be things that you can nitpick about my videos after having 200 of them on the internet. Yeah, there are gonna be things that you probably don't like or that you disagree with, but I think I've always tried to come across as kind as possible. It's not like I'm like, you fucking idiot. Anyways, that's my vent session over, and I'm not gonna even think about that anymore. I'm deleting those, and if you want to submit another one, go ahead, and that will be nice, because then I can block your email from ever being able to come through on the form again, and hopefully block you on YouTube as well. But anyways, I love you guys, and shitty people do exist, and unfortunately, some of them are in my comments. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. I'm gonna go film a mini episode for you guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye! Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.